Hi, everyone. I hope everybody is having a good time so far. My name is Tepmongkol, and I'm a CEO and co-founder of OHZONE. We are a boutique fashion tech firm that helps fashion brand scale in the metaverse, e-commerce, and AR. I am so happy to be here to introduce my good friend, Nico Fara. We have known each other for a little while. We met in New York Fashion Week at one of the events, and we hit it off ever since. So Nico is a sought after speaker. She has been at numerous speaking events and, NFT, NYC, and, many other notable events. And she's also a community builder and founder of Fashion DAO, as well as a first ever person to, offer a concept of fractional chief metaverse officer. And I'm so happy to have Nico share her extensive technical experience and insight into digital fashion. Nico.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the amazing introduction, and thank you for putting together this beautiful event. I'm already learning and enjoying a lot. Yes, and this is, my presentation. If all can you share my screen, and we go through the slides, then I can open it up. All right, it's loading.
Okay.
And if you can go full screen and start from the first slide, then that would be amazing. I had some last minute technical difficulties. My computer completely shut down. So I'm just calling in from my phone, and hopefully everything else goes well. So let's go from the first slide all the way to the beginning. Yes, so the topic is spatial computing and how it impacts the fashion industry. Next slide, please. So yeah, as O mentioned, I have, an engineering and technology background, but I always had passion for fashion. So I know this space very well because I have been doing fashion tech products and solutions, more on the AR side, and then transition to more immersive experiences and metaverse and spatial computing. And I also have, been very much focused on the Web3 fashion side, which I will be explaining more. And I founded the Fashion DAO. We're all about empowering creators. And the other organization that I have is a tech company that is creating immersive experiences for all. We had a B2B side, and then now building a social commerce network and bringing, the masses into these great experiences. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of what I have personally experienced, and also a lot of insights from the brands and businesses that I have worked with. We'll start with the history and definitions to make sure we're on the same page. And then we go about, touching on how digital fashion is using these technologies, and then how it impacts design, how these all are great solutions for doing experiential marketing, building communities, talking to users, and turning the consumers to fans, and all of those great benefits of these technologies. And then we will look at some of the use cases that have been done by various brands, and kind of compare them and look, what could be done better. And in terms of benefits of these technologies for the fashion industry specifically, and then we will go into looking at challenges and opportunities. So you guys all can kind of take it from here and hopefully be motivated and excited to collaborate together and build this future. Next slide, please. So yeah, so in terms of these concepts, first one I want to start with is augmented reality, which all has this amazing company that also works in this sector. Augmented reality is basically the overlaying the digital information onto the real world. And there's so many use cases that you are personally probably familiar with, from like virtual makeup that you can put on when you are at Sephora. Or, you know, these AR glasses are now becoming more and more popular. And this has a lot of use cases in the fashion, obviously with virtual try-ons. So one of my previous companies was fully focused on virtual try-ons, still not hasn't been fully adopted, even though it has so many use cases, because the consumer behavior is hard to change. People are used to so easily just shopping from e-commerce and taking picture of themselves and, you know, trying these things, and the technology hasn't been fully there yet to show all the beauty of the texture and how it fits into the body. And so it is kind of a challenge, because also a lot of technologies don't understand fashion and texture and all these ideas. So it's kind of a path that has been worked on for many, many years. The idea of AR, or the you know, actual technology, was developed around in the 90s. And it was first, you know, had a lot of military use cases. And then when the smartphones and apps became popular in 2000s, we had, and, you know, kind of like late 2000 to early 2010s, we saw this becoming more and more adopted with Snapchat and a lot of other use cases. And Google had their AR glasses. But again, we're seeing with this boom in the metaverse concepts, we're seeing like Meta is trying to do something, and other companies are trying to do. Obviously, you know, it's a little bit confusing when you see Meta has launched their glasses with Ray-Ban. I was just at the Metaverse Summit and tried them on. There's nothing related to AR yet, but it's in the horizon. In terms of VR, however, you know, we have a very different technology. The way VR is different is that it really detects your head and eye and body movements, and then adjusts the displaying of the images and the videos that you're seeing according to those movements. And that's why it's even more real. And in, you know, they obviously has a lot of use cases, but again, in the fashion, you can have fashion shows, you can have a lot of experiences that you are doing in the physical space and bring it to scale. And again, this technology was developed in the 80s, and it didn't get really to consumers until 2016 when Oculus was launched. And that's now turning to what we are seeing with, you know, the Oculus from Meta and, you know, Apple and so on. The other technology or concept is MR, or mixed reality. That's kind of a combination of two, AR and VR. And so it's kind of a hybrid where you are seeing these digital objects in this real world and kind of like overlaying it, and you're able to interact with them. And so, again, it has a lot of application, and the headset that Apple is launching to public, that's basically the Apple Vision Pro, is more of a mixed reality. And in terms of history, Microsoft HoloLens was the one that was actually forefront of this technology in 2016. And, you know, this has been always of an interest because you can have both AR and VR. And the concept of XR is basically putting all of this together and basically looking at the next generation of computing, where it's more immersive and more interactive than the traditional computing or internet that we're used to. And, you know, another example of that technology is Magic Leap 1. Magic Leap has been one of the innovators of this industry. And so, yeah, XR is kind of getting into all these concepts. And then we have the concept of metaverse. And this metaverse basically means persistent shared virtual world. Obviously, there's so many definitions for metaverse. It could be the future of internet, it could be all of those things. But this persistent part is a bit different from other experiences, because you can basically hop into these worlds anytime and they will still be there. And so with this concept of metaverse, you know, it first was coined with the novel snow crash in 1992, and then again it became popular when Facebook changed their name to Meta in 2021. And so the last topic or concept, which is also the title of this talk, which became popular recently, is spatial computing. Now, spatial computing means interactive digital experiences that are tied to specific real-world locations and contexts using these technologies that we talked about. So spatial computing, it basically, Apple didn't want to use the word metaverse, so they prefer to use spatial computing. But these are all concepts that are along the same lines. But I wanted to kind of like have an overview so we are all on the same page as we dive deeper. Next slide, please. Awesome. So digital fashion, I think most of you are familiar with, is the concept of like the clothing that has been visualized or created in these digital experiences. Now, there are different use cases for digital fashion. It could be used for, just seeing the clothes on yourself without actually physically purchasing it. The virtual try-on concept, that was the digital fashion. I personally learned about it when I was working on that. And then the other use cases is obviously in the metaverse and in the Web3 space, and into all this spatial computing environments. So let's dig deeper into that. So the concept of metaverse fashion is when you actually take this digital clothing and take them and adopt them to this each of these metaverse environments that currently exist. So each of them have their own limitations. If you're building in, let's say, Unreal Engine, you have a different type of optimization and limitation that you have to adapt to. And then the other thing is that when you're in this kind of persistent virtual world, you're representing yourself as an avatar, and it's not really your physical self. And so metaverse fashion is not really so much of the AR, is more of that immersive one. And so everything your avatar will be wearing and all of those changes that can happen in the environment, if it's gamified and your avatar clothing can be changing, like in Fortnite, Roblox, we're seeing those are metaverse fashion use cases. And then the other aspect of these technologies can be the Web3 side of things. So on the Web3, we're actually talking about blockchain, and tying this close to, blockchain brings a lot of use cases that are beneficial. So you can actually have a non-fungible token or a unique version of each item, like the picture that you see in the bottom of this screen. That was what Fabricant created, and it was one of a kind. I think it was the first digital fashion item that was actually sold for the price of almost $10,000 a while back, I think like 7 years ago. And it was very innovative. Something that you could never physically wear was sold for that price. And then later, obviously, so many other use cases really broke this barrier from Gucci bags to digitally be more expensive than the physical version of them. So this concept of one of a kind or NFTs have been very interesting. The other use case of this blockchain-based type of fashion is when you can trace everything. You can equitably compensate all the participants in an amazing art that was created, from the designer to model to any manufacturer, or all the parties involved should be getting compensated and given credit. And now it's possible you can put them all into the smart contract and offer them value almost indefinitely. So the concept of Web3 fashion is very interesting. It has been adopted a bit, but not so much. There's another part when you want to tie this digital clothing to physical, and you can use NFC chips. You can also tie it to the blockchain. So there's so many benefits into what these technologies are offering. And this all going to benefit both consumers and the brands and the designers, because with the concept of digital fashion, everything becomes more sustainable, everything becomes more equitable and democratized. And people, anybody can be a creator and to bring their ideas to life. So that's very exciting. And the future of fashion is using all of these great technologies and bringing amazing ideas and expressions to life. Next slide, please. So what about design? Design is very important, obviously. That's where everything starts. Now, in this Web3 world, you can also build with your community. But also, if you look at the traditional design, we have been wasting a lot of resources, printing or producing various prototypes and samples, and going from one place to the other and showcasing it and getting feedback. So it was lots of friction and kind of waste that we were experiencing, and we're still experiencing a lot. Now with the concept of digital fashion and this XR fashions, we have a lot of other opportunities. So one company that I personally was amazed to get to know was Milan, which I put their names so you can look them up on Twitter or X. And they're a great sneakers company. They are creating their designs in VR. So they put on the VR headset and kind of draw in certain tools that exist for designing in VR, and create these beautiful sneakers that are very amazing. And you may not think that they can possibly be created physically, but they actually partner with another company which is producing them physically through 3D printing. So that's a very interesting use case to me. And basically this gives us opportunity to not only be efficient, more sustainable, faster, and also like just explore creativity in a different level. And that you may not ever have the same ideas or kind of creations if you are just drawing on a paper or even a 2D technology. But if you are in this 3D VR environment, your creations are going to be elevated as well. So that's very interesting. So you can have innovative materials, you can have innovative techniques, and it's just a whole new tool set for the creators to want to create in this space. Another example that I got to know is one of our fashion DAO designers. Her name is, or her ID is Creatives Art. Again, you can look her up on the X platform, and you can see how she actually goes to a lot of events, mostly Web3, and she does live design. It's different types of design. She created fashion for us, and we displayed it in our fashion show, but she does a lot of cool stuff, all live while wearing the headset. So really interesting use cases that I highly recommend you guys looking into. But also, just using all the technologies we talked about, there are, more other use cases like, personalizing the design. When you are doing Web3 fashion, you are doing one-on-one for a user, whether they pay it first through buying an NFT or something, and then you can reach out to them personally and get to understand their measurements and create something based on their taste. So that personalized version actually reduces the waste. You know exactly what they want. The customer is going to be happier. And you can also build it with the community. So this personalization, it has always been a top of mind because people are just, looking to be efficient and get what they really want. And so this virtual try-ons, personalization, all these great experiences that we're offering to the users wouldn't be possible without these technologies. Next slide, please. And the part that I personally am the most passionate about is the immersive experiences. because it kind of encompasses all of those ideas that we talked about. So whether you want to have a one-off event and bring your fans or audience together or your community together, or you want to have an always-on virtual store or gallery, you can use these immersive experiences and bring that to life. And there's no limitation, no physical limitation. You can create almost anything. You can do almost anything. You can fly rather than walking. You can wear whatever that might not be even physically possible. And so these are really huge opportunities, both for brands and for consumers, again, because this just creates a whole different bond among them. You know, this concept of social shopping, for example, we're seeing a lot of live streaming coming up, and people just, you know, traditionally we all have been, you know, as social creatures, we all wanting to, you know, even the shopping to be part of a ritual we do together. And so when we are on e-commerce, that part is usually missing. There are so many platforms that are trying to bring it in, but it doesn't ever feel like really you're in a space or you're in a store together with your friends or family. But with these immersive experiences, you can get a lot more closer to that. So that's really fascinating. And in terms of like brands, you know, like when they're doing the fashion show or doing any types of like influencer events or activities like that, it's really not democratized. It's really not accessible to most of us. And so that's a missed opportunity. I understand that luxury is about exclusivity and scarcity, but also most of these brands have a very loyal community that want to experience these things, but maybe physically can't be there. And so we have an opportunity to use these technologies, and this is already here. It's not a long time in the future. You can create super realistic environments and experiences and bring everything to life and do the virtual try-on, do all those cool gamifications, do those NFTs and other activities all in one place. So that's very exciting. Next slide, please. So let's look at some of the use cases that have been executed, especially more recently. Tommy Hilfiger did Metaverse Fashion Week that was just in March. And, you know, that past Metaverse Fashion Week was kind of a cross-platform. So Tommy did anywhere from Decentraland to Spatial, they did Roblox, and then they also used Dressix Marketplace and Ready Player Me environment. And so Ready Player Me is the company that creates the avatars, and Dressix is the company that is creating the digital fashion garments. And so the actual metaverses or immersive experiences that they were in were Decentraland, Spatial, and Roblox. And so what they did is that they had e-commerce, so you could buy physical and digital. I don't think in all of these platforms, only probably one of them. And then they had a host that would be kind of, you know, moderating the experience. They provided POAP, which is proof of attendance protocol, making sure like when you are there, you can claim that proof of attendance that is kind of tied to the blockchain. So you can later on claim that you were at this specific event. So that's a cool thing that most of Web3 fashion brands are doing. They also had NFTs for the items. They had virtual try-ons. You know, thanks to Dressix, that's what their specialty is. They also had some fun activities. They had a photo booth. They had an AI fashion creation competition. The AI fashion creation wasn't right there. It was like a side thing that they did. But yeah, they basically tried different techniques to engage the community, to bring them into the event, to have them try on their items and just have a special time. And that was pretty successful compared to other experiences that happened in Metaverse Fashion Week. And this was the second Metaverse Fashion Week. And we heard they had less traffic than before because the market in the Web3 side wasn't great, but that just shows that brands are still excited. The next brand that has been very active in this space is Gucci. Gucci actually has a department, a group within them that is called Dream Big. And Dream Big group is all about Web3 and Metaverse. So they had a Gucci town in Roblox. They converted that to now Gucci Ancora, and this Gucci Ancora now it was tied to the Milan Fashion Week. And so they, in parallel to the Milan Fashion Week, they were doing this Roblox activity. They were also on Zepeto, which is a South Korean app. And they were also on QQ, which is the Chinese app. And so what was unique and interesting about Gucci is that they're doing very different experiences at each of these environments. They didn't just copy the same thing from the physical to all of these environments, or from one environment to all of them. It was very more native to that environment and to that audience. And I think that's very important for brands and creators to think about, that you can't just take whatever you're doing in the physical space or whatever you're doing in the central land and apply it to other places, because you have a totally different audience and totally different kind of techniques and tools that you can use. And so Gucci did a great job on that front, and they adapted everything to the right audience and the right platform that they were using. And they also had all sorts of like treasures and games and points to offer to engage the users. And the other example of brands that have been very active in this space is Nike, obviously. Nike acquired Artifact and kind of got ahead of the game. And this activation that I'm talking about is with partnership with Fortnite, which is, after Roblox, the second most exciting so-called metaverse or game that has been bringing a lot of attention to fashion and immersive experiences. And so what they created was this Airforia city, which is an extra island they added to Fortnite. And then they offered various games and activities with certain prizes. So there were 5 sneakers, 2 outfits that you could win by playing the game in that area. And so that was another interesting use case that Nike obviously has been playing and learning from what Artifact has been doing and tying it to their existing technology. They build a community of .sush. They have been doing a lot of active experiences, especially because their audience is early adopters of these technologies. So sneakers and the fans of these sports, they are perfect for adopting something like Web3 or Metaverse. So they have been pretty successful in that front, and I think they're the top most revenue generating brand in the Web3 space, thanks to the audience that they have and the acquisition that they have. The other one that I have here for you is Snapchat. Snap has been doing AR for so long. It's sad that they, they're not doing well as much financially because some companies are copying them all the time. But yeah, that is me wearing, Prada handbags at a conference, Augmented World Expo conference. And as you can see, these are becoming more and more real and believable. So those type of AR mirrors are being placed in different locations. When I was at the Coach activation in New York City when they had very similar, they had AR mirrors in partnership with 010, and they even had like the storefront window that was kind of showing to the audience, like people just in the street walking by, how this handbags can be or purses can be looking on them. And these are maybe familiar to us that have been in this industry, but for the normal people and masses, these are fascinating. And it was amazing to see the reaction and the excitement, especially in the younger generation. These are what really brings them joy. And so like the reason brands are really using these technologies is a lot also about engaging this younger generation, because even now they have a good spending power and even more in the future. So these are really fascinating use cases. And the very interesting and last, but the most recent one that I want to talk about is what Adobe announced in their Adobe Max 2023 event that they just had recently. And it is called Primrose Project. And this Primrose Project, I don't know if you guys have watched the video, it's very interesting. So this woman, Kristen Dirk, created this material with her team, and it's very fascinating. So basically, Adobe wanted to show that everything you're creating with these AI tools, with these creative ideas that we're all using, Adobe Firefly, After Effects, all these tools, you can bring it to life on a physical object or clothing. And this is very fascinating because it's a wearable that is flexible and it's non-emissive. It's something that you can, hopefully wear. I think it will first go to the fashion shows before coming to the masses. But, it's a great use case that now something like this is possible, and it will change depending on the orders that the user will give it, or based on a pre-programmed plan. And so, again, these are very fascinating use cases that brands and tech companies are exploring, and so they're offering a lot of benefits. So obviously sustainability, we have been wasting a lot in the fashion industry. My personal passion of coming from technology to fashion was to make it more efficient. I was just so tired of ordering products that I wasn't sure if they would fit me or look good on me, but I liked them. And so it was just like lots of returns, lots of friction, waste of my time and money, and also just feeling terrible about what I'm doing to the environment. And so, especially for the younger generation that are more conscious, this is a huge issue. And technologies like what we talked about are the solution. So we have to all work together to fix this. And this will make our lives easier too. And then the other part that is very exciting to me is that, we had a big challenge around, plus sizes and other challenges, or like the fashion shows not being open to everybody and stuff like that. All of those challenges of accessibility and inclusivity are now possibly resolved thanks to these technologies. So why can't we, use them to make it happen and make the consumer happier, make the brands happier, and make the planet better. So I'm personally very excited, and that's why I devoted my life to this. But I highly encourage you guys to, either on the personal level or on the professional level, try all these technologies. Let's go to the next slide. In terms of opportunities and challenges, so for me, everything is an opportunity because any gap we see, we can do something about it. So obviously, this hardware that we talked about, they're not perfect. VR headsets specifically, they haven't been designed around certain demographics, like most of women, and that's why we see us getting nauseous or not feeling well, because these have been only tested on the male demographic. And so the other, like just the quality of these, again, I was at the Augmented World Expo conference, and O was there too. And we saw how a lot of these technologies, like the suits that you have to wear and kind of feel the object and stuff like that, are so bulky and still not fully there, especially for the masses to adopt this. Forget about us that are early adopters and lovers of technology, but it has to get to a more user-friendly position before it can be adopted. And then on the UX UI, like the software side, a lot of these technologies, again, are not user-friendly. We see how challenging it is for someone to create a crypto wallet to want to have a traceable purchase. And it is something that, again, is an opportunity. We can all work on it. And we can look deeper into it. And we need more of creative minds in these industries. We have a lot of technical people, but we need more creative minds. On the education side, you know, conferences like this are so empowering. Again, thanks to Ching and her team for putting this together, because without this, we can't share the goodness. And so you are all evangelists. You should be going and passing on this information and bringing the masses, bringing the creators and the best of the brains into these industries to make this actual future a reality. And the very important part that I wanted to mention is the narrative or the story. None of the experiences matter to the users unless there is a strong story. So as a brand, as a creator, we need to tell the story of what are these things, where are they going, how are they helpful. Brands that had activation without a story, without a strong narrative, they almost fail. And so what we need right now is to bring the masses into these technologies, but we need to improve in all areas. And I'm personally working on this, and I encourage you all to work on this, and let's do it together, because it will be almost impossible for one person or one group to really resolve everything. So let's collaborate, let's co-create, let's make this industry better together. Thank you.
Myself, okay. Hi, thank you, Nico. This is a really, very educational. Even for me, I learned a few things. I was at the, yeah, I'm glad you have both the depth and breadth of, all the experiences, and I'm glad that you are here to share that with us. I was at AWE as well. I wanted to the augmented world, and I want to remind the audience that Pokemon Go is an example of AR, right? Niantic make a lot of impact with that, right? With in terms of gameplays and everybody excited. So I think AR is also is a force. One of the audience, I think we got one question from the audience. Let me see here. How do I get there? Should I? Sorry, 1 second.
No, take your time.
I don't know where the audience question went. It's about when do you predict that AR and VR would be, become part of the mainstream? Do you have any prediction on that?
It depends on many factors, obviously. If you're talking about the hardware, I would say at least 3 to 5 years, and this is not coming from me personally. I was at the Metaverse Summit just a week ago, second Metaverse Summit by The Economist, and there were so many thought leaders in that space, and they had various predictions and ideas that were shared, but the average of all of them was like 3 to 5 years at least. That's on the hardware side alone. On the user experience, the storytelling, and bringing the masses, that really depends. You really don't know. Like someone brought the example of, let's say, Taylor Swift, launches an NFT project, and suddenly we're going to see some sort of mass adoption. So those things are kind of unpredictable, but it depends to all of us, all the folks that are here in this call. We have an opportunity to change this and create more mass adoption by every single thing that we are doing, by considering the items that I mentioned, and by coming together.
Yeah, I am with you there. I mean, we talk about big brands and all the big influencer, and we want more mass adoption where the medium size or the everyday people could participate in this new economy. What do you think about how would we talk about spatial computing, and it's a term that kind of associated with Apple Vision Pro. How would that spatial computing and Vision Pro change the landscape of what's happening now with digital fashion?
Well, I think they're not necessarily targeting the fashion as far as I have been seeing. They're very much more on the enterprise focus from the use cases they discuss. But, from our perspective, like, again, that's a user experience improvement. Apple is really good at the user experiences. And so by doing that, of course, their price point is not still as user-friendly as for like masses. But I believe like most of the people who have iPhone will consider purchasing the Vision Pro because it encompasses a lot of features that we currently have. So yeah, it will be a revolution in terms of possibilities and just kind of wakening up these masses that may have seen VR but never really gave it a chance. So yeah, and on the other hand, it brings the excitement into competition. Whatever Meta was doing was going very slow. Now they have a strong competition, so they keep launching and iterating. And so competition is always a good thing, and that's exciting.
That's really great. I think that we needed more excitement, right? One thing that I really object to was that all these companies changing their name to a common word, because I mean, I can't type X without like we have to ban that. Like Meta, all these other common words, we should say, hey, you got to be more creative than that. What do you think is the Meta next move? Do they have a move for in terms of digital fashion, or what are they doing next? How are we getting out of the crypto winter, they call it?
Well, Meta or Metaverse, like the company Meta?
Mm-hmm. The
Okay.
company Meta.
So the company Meta, their approach, as you have seen, is just copying what's cool and what's innovative. So I was just talking about that in our previous LinkedIn Live that we do on Tuesdays. Because of FCC's limitation in the US, they're becoming tighter and tighter on companies, big companies that were acquiring companies. They started copying them, which is easier, faster for them, and probably cheaper. And so that's why Snap didn't grow. That's why Clubhouse, had their own challenges. So it is kind of sad to be a builder and see that the company can just copy everything. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but you clearly have seen all the copies they've done. It was interesting to see they are changing the graphics from the gimmicky basic environments that everybody was complaining about to something more realistic, but that hasn't been even brought to the masses yet. It is just as a demo and building up the hype again. As far as I know, Horizon World they had as a metaverse hasn't been successful. And so, it's a company that loves to build hype and copy others.
Well, yeah, I just noticed now that you said it, Meta and Snap and also Web3, they all are 4-letter words company. So, so I don't know whether they did that in branding. No, I'm just kidding. What do you think about what's next what do you think is the next big thing for digital fashion? Like what do you think is going to be really
again, we need
killer
mass? Yeah, we need mass adoption. And a lot of brands have shifted focus to gaming. Nike, I know, and many other brands, again, at the conference I saw many are shifting focus, whether it's in fashion or other industries, because they know the gaming audience is not going to go anywhere. They are better than the crypto audience. They're bigger than the crypto audience. So in so many ways, even MasterCard has started their game academy So companies have shifted their focus from the crypto audience and crypto industry to the gaming industry while speaking about these immersive experiences. And so gaming is actually the parent of Metaverse. So why not? Because if it wasn't because of gamers and gaming, we wouldn't be able to do any of these things that we're doing. I think definitely gaming is so important, and the gamification, whether you use the game engine or not, you need gamification in your brand and in your narrative, because that will excite, build loyalty, excite the user, build up the hype, and engage them. So with all of those consideration, I think the next thing is going to be definitely something along the lines of gaming. And the other part is the social part. Like we see a lot happening on the social shopping. So I'm personally very passionate and building in this intersection of social commerce and gaming. And I think that would really open up these technologies to the masses.
If you were a young, fashion designer, or want to get into this space of digital fashion and the next new thing, what would be your advice? Where should they start?
Sure. If designing is the passion, I would say like if you have the time and interest to learn any of these technologies like close 3D, browser, you can watch YouTube, and there's so many good resources out there. There are also courses you can take, but that's on the like actual software learning. If you want to just tinker and kind of be creative, there are various AI tools that you can play with. But it comes down to like what your goal is. If it is expression and creativity, probably those AI tools can do it. But if you really want to be able to build something that you can potentially turn to physical, then you want to use the digital fashion tools like browser and close 3D. And the interesting part is also educating yourself on all the possibilities. Without using blockchain or Web3, things can be copied and things can be less valued because they're digital, and people think digital can be copied. But if you actually turn it to a token, non-fungible token, or some sort of blockchain tie that you can do, then the value will be increased and you can have more protection and traceability. So educating on that front is important. That's what our vision and mission has been in the Fashion DAO, to bring these creators into this community and educate them, empower them, help them to express their talents and connect them with the brand. So that's why we are here. And if you're interested, check out the fashionnow.xyz, and that's the community we created for you.
Oh, excellent. So everyone, checked out and see what's next. I also have a little bit of questions about, you mentioned gaming is a thing that kind of like a vehicle for, for the metaverse. Do you feel that, in gaming, especially, a Fortnite and stuff, is mostly, guys or boys, do you see that, that dynamics or that change anytime? Like, where is, with digital fashion, you would think it's more women who would be in it, right? So should we concentrate on streetwear first, or things that that's more from what the audience is right now in gaming side? You see that changing anytime soon?
Yeah, so what's very interesting is that actually more and more gamers are now women. As I was reading the news about MasterCard's Game Academy, I saw like almost half, and soon even more than half, who are going to be women in the US and even globally. So the definition of gaming and being a gamer is different to everyone, which is interesting. Like you could be playing very easy mobile phone games and not call yourself a gamer. Our image of gamer is like someone who's wearing those headphones, a special chair, and but that's not true. A lot of women and moms and so on, like they're all gamers. So this technology is not new and has been part of the life of many people, even women. And so what we need more of is having women as creators and leaders of this industry, because that's really a gap. Similar to other technology spaces, I have been spending most of my time in the tech industry. So it's always a gap, there's always a need for more women. And also in gaming, because these spaces have not been very safe and have not been very empowering, this has been a bigger gap. So we need more women to actually tell the stories that resonate with more women. And not just women, like also non-binaries, the LGBTQ community, they have been huge, powerful audience of these technologies, because they could see themselves, express themselves in a way that truly feels organic and authentic to them. And this is an opportunity for them to be the creator and be the leader of that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's already happening. We just need more of them to actually become creators and leaders. Now, in terms of how we can attract the women to actually come to these environments like Fortnite and Roblox, I don't know if these platforms are going to change their narratives. There are other platforms, like IMVU, even Zepeto we talked about, Avakin Life, all these platforms are also trying to do kind of mix the gaming with social component. But a lot of them, when you go as a woman, as a young person, or just a person, I don't feel safe. I don't feel like I can express myself the same way I'm expressing in the real world, or even in Instagram, Facebook, all these social medias. So there's a lot that needs to be done on the safety and security, and also improving this user experience. And then the stories that we are saying, like a lot of these environments, the chat rooms and stuff, they're not really telling the stories that people, normal people, want to hear. So on the fashion side, the clothing choices are also adjusted based on the type of audience that you're targeting. And so when you go to Zepeto, most of the clothings are matching the South Korean taste and not necessarily the US taste. And so all of these are basically excluding some people. Ideally, you want a platform that can offer all sorts of solution and then personalize the experience to each audience, depending on detecting where they're coming from, or all of that. And that's the type of data that the users will be more than happy to share, because it will give them a better experience and it will save them time and energy. And most of the Metaverse platforms are not doing that. They're just giving you the same thing for everybody, Metaverse for all. And that is not the solution.
It's still the Web 2 experience, right? The Web 2, where the Web 3 is more, as you mentioned, more of a creator economy. Everybody collaborate and kind of like have a shared vision of something that you create together, and everybody has their own way of sharing their vision, right? More like, yeah.
And there is so much that can be improved in Web 3 and going to Web 4 or whatever you call it. So I'm personally working on solving all those gaps, and I encourage everyone to look into them.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you very much. I think we're about out of time, and I'm really glad that you can share all these your insights and all the your experiences. And I've learned a lot in the process, and I hope everyone feel excited and to know more about, or to learn more about Web3 and digital fashion that is not going away anytime soon, and it will come back with a vengeance. So thank you, Nico.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.